Good morning, everyone, or I guess I should say good afternoon. I want to start by thanking you all for joining Senator Blunt Rochester's annual IRS webinar. My name is Maddie Ferguson. I'm a constituent services representative for the office of Senator Blunt Rochester. On our agenda today, we have two presenters from the IRS and Taxpayer Advocate Services. We will then have a Q&A following their presentations. The goal for today is to provide you all with helpful filing tips and resources as we approach the tax deadline. Now that we have the agenda out of the way, I would like to turn it over to our Senator, Lisa Blunt Rochester.
Thank you so much, Maddie, and good afternoon, Delaware. I'm really excited to again join you for our IRS webinar. And in the past, I hope that you found these webinars to be useful and powerful. We have done these webinars in the past during some challenging times, and we've also done them at times that, seem like really, really important and valuable to each and every one of you. And so that includes during the pandemic when we came together to try to bring you information that was specific to your needs, whether it was about the expanded child tax credit or other challenges that we face. But we wanted to again make sure that you knew we were here to serve you. That's again why I am proud to be alongside Wendy Figueroa from the Taxpayer Advocate Service and Brent Bowie from the IRS. Wendy and Brent both have decades of experience, and we are grateful for their time today. And I also want to recognize a couple of members to our team who are on the call, new members. First of all, our Director of Constituent Services, Carol Hubbard, and secondly, Maddie Ferguson, who you just heard from. Maddie is a constituent services representative who handles IRS cases for our office. They will both be your best resource and liaison to our office, and we are just really grateful to have them as members of this important team. Some of you may know that I started off in the congressional office for then Congressman Tom Carper back in the late 1980s. And I was fortunate to be the person who actually does what Maddie does. I was there to help individuals who were having challenges with the IRS. And so this is really important to our office, and it's important to me that you get good services and that we help you to navigate this tax filing season. I want to leave as much time as possible for the presentation so that you can hear what the latest and the greatest is and what's going on, but also so that we can answer your many questions. And we also are using all the tools that we have in the Senate to get answers to your questions from the relevant partners. So we look forward to making sure that we are responsive to you as we always have been. And if you have questions about your specific tax case or are having an issue with the IRS, please contact our casework team. So again, there are the things that you're going to hear about today that can cut across all of Delaware. And then there are some things that might be a specific challenge that you're having. Please go to bluntrochester.senate.gov to find the contact information for our office in each county. We have a Wilmington office, a Dover office, and a Georgetown office. And we will be following up also with anybody who registered for this, because we want to hear your thoughts about how to continuously improve what we are providing to you by way of service. And now it is my honor to turn it over to Wendy from the Taxpayer Advocate Service. Wendy, welcome.
Thank you, Senator. My name is Wendy Figueroa, and I am the local taxpayer advocate for the state of Delaware. And let me just get this presentation started. Hi, Maddie. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to confirm. All right, well, today, as the senator had mentioned, there have been a lot of issues that we see every year with delays. So that is the purpose of this presentation from Taxpayer Advocate Service, to give you some tax tips to avoid having any delays in the processing of your tax return. And let's just start with giving you some information about finding tax preparation help. The IRS have a lot of resources available for you. The first one will be the free help. We have the volunteer income tax assistant and the tax counseling for the elderly programs. These programs are available for constituents with 67,000 or less income. It's also available, the VITA, for the persons with disabilities and limited English-speaking taxpayers. The tax counseling for the elderly also assists seniors. So there are experts, volunteers trained by the IRS that will provide information and assistance with pensions and also retirement income. This free assistance, again, is for those with 67,000 or less. But if you cannot utilize those services, the IRS also have the free file assistant. The IRS has some partnerships with some of the software company providers, and they will assist, provide free assistance for taxpayers with 84,000 or less in adjusted gross income. And they do this free assistance in two ways. They might provide some guided tax return preparation online, where the software will ask you for questions and they will prompt you to complete your tax return. But they also have the free fillable forms, and this is available for those that cannot utilize the free file version. And you will have to use the forms and utilize the forms instructions and also the publications available. And you will, in that sense, have a little bit of experience, filing tax returns, because you will have to complete the forms on your own, utilizing those resources. The free file also have available for those that don't meet that income threshold, the ability to file an extension of time to file. And, you can just utilize this system regardless of the income. That's available for all taxpayers. We also have the direct file, but I'm going to skip that for now. I have another slide that will give you more information on that one. And we also have available a directory of federal tax return preparers with credentials and select qualification. As you know, not all tax return preparers have the same skills and qualifications. So if you cannot benefit from these free programs and you have to do your online research or trying to find preparers, we have that available for you for your use. In addition to that, Taxpayer Advocate Service has some additional information pages for filing returns and how to choose a tax return preparer. And one of the things that why is so important is because finding a trusted tax professional will save you a lot of trouble. There's a lot of unscrupulous tax preparers that often encourage people to file false tax returns and steal valuable personal information from you. There's also some ghost preparers often prey on seniors and underserved communities. So you wanted to make sure that you always select somebody that have the right credentials. There's some of them shady tax practitioners that could also be involved in stealing taxpayers' identities. So that's why it's so important to be on the lookout, so that you don't fall victim of these people. Some of the warning signs to look for, these unscrupulous tax preparers, they're going to ask for cash-only payment without providing any receipt. They can invent false income to try to get their clients to get more credits. They can claim fake deductions to boost the size of the refund. They sometimes refuse to sign the return, or they ask you to provide to sign a blank return. These are the things that warning signs that you should be looking for. Sometimes they charge a fee based on the size of the refund, or they might direct refund into their bank accounts. So always look for people that have credentials. And going back to the IRS direct file, The IRS direct file started last year in 2024, and the IRS served 140,000 taxpayers that were benefit of this program. They surpassed the goal of 100,000, so they saved $5.6 million on tax preparation fees. So unfortunately, we have 24 participant states, but we do not have Delaware yet. But if you have any friends or family members, maybe on some of the states nearby, like New Jersey, Pennsylvania, maybe Maryland, they will be able to benefit from this. But if you want, you can go to the direct file irs.gov and look at, see if you qualify, or any of your friends and family. And also you can look at the QR code available on this slide. Some of the amounts right now for that is like the wages have to be less than 200,000 or 168,600 if you have more for more one employer, and that's for if you're single or a head of household. If you're married, filing joint, that should be jointly 250,000. And for a married filing separate, 125, less than 125,000. But I encourage you to go into the link and get more information about the program. One of the things that I've forgot to mention, you have to use ID me to verify yourself in order to be able to use the free file program. And we encourage everybody to utilize the e-file because it's easier. But you have to make sure that you look at prior years, the software that import prior year data, because sometimes it could create duplicate of income or withholding, and that could bring you with some trouble. But make sure that you verify always also the direct deposit information. You should be using only a bank account assigned to yourself. Do not use anybody else's bank account, because that could create a problem with your refund and sometimes the loss of the refund. Direct pay is also a great way of paying any balance that you have with the IRS electronically, and it's free of charge. And reporting income, one of the most important thing also is to utilize your year-end statement, because a lot of people try to file their tax return utilizing pay stubs, and that will create a problem that in the next slide I will explain to you what could happen potentially, in the delays. So if you receive wages, use your Form W-2. If you receive another type of income, including digital assets, use the corresponding forms 1099, 1099-K. If you identify any problems or any errors with the forms that you receive, you wanted to contact immediately the payers or the employers to get a corrected form before you file your tax return. And the reason why you experience delays, most of the time when we see this in every day, we receive cases, and sometimes for prior years, because the IRS integrity and verification operations have hold taxpayers and constituents refunds because there is discrepancy. And like I said, the W-2 form information and information provided to IRS by payers and employers is when you file your tax return, this department is going to make sure that the income and the withholding match. And if it doesn't match, the refund is going to be withheld until somebody can verify this, and it's verified. This verification goes manually. So, and the purpose of that is because the IRS wanted to ensure accurate returns are processed and to help identify fraudulent refunds before refunds are issued. And this is one of the biggest cause of delay in receiving refunds for constituents. One of the things that you could do, in addition to if you see that your W-2 or your 1099 is incorrect in contacting your payer and your employer, you can also contact the IRS. But one of the easiest way of doing so is verifying the information with the online account If you have an ID me verification account, you can get your tax records on your transcript on the online system. And you can get a transcript of all the wage and income information for you. Sometimes, that if you work for multiple employers, sometimes you forget how many you have when you're about to file your tax return and you're not sure that you received them all. You can use this to get that information and double check. If you do create an account online, you're going to be able to get like a transcript like this, a wage and income transcript. This shows like a W-2 form, and this is kind of like the introduction. It shows how the Social Security number is going to show, what year, and then the title of the form. Generally, the IRS, sometimes for purposes of protecting identity theft, they mask the Social Security, so you would not be able sometimes to see the full information. This is how they would show the employer information, the employee, also the type of income, withholding, in all the different fields that you could get in a regular W-2, but in this format as a transcript. Here it just shows in this slide, the different other components that you can see on that W-2. And very important, if you do if you decide to do an IRS online account at irs.gov, you have to be mindful that there are people trying sometimes posing an individuals or third parties that assist with this. Sometimes you could get emails, text messages and things like that. Be careful with that because, these scammers could potentially steal your information, Social Security numbers, ID, individual taxpayer identification number, and your photo ID. So be careful with that. Do not trust any third-party assistant request. And double check that your information is correct for you, your spouse, and your dependent. You want to make sure that Social Security numbers, taxpayer identification numbers are correct, the names, the date of birth. And if you have been victim of identity theft and if you have an IPP number, make sure that you also have the correct number there before you submit your tax return. You wanted to check also for all credits and deductions. Credits and deductions change and vary from year to year. So you wanted to make sure that you double check. Do not trust in information that you have in a prior year because it might be different. But the IRS.gov have a lot of available tools that you can utilize to double check these credits. And attach all required forms and schedules before you submit the return. If you are filing in paper, make sure that any income document that have federal income tax withheld is attached. Very important. Look at the lines on your return that have entries, and some of them will say attach the required certain schedule. Make sure that all those schedules are included with your tax return. And this is even true when you file electronically as well. Make sure that all of your schedules are attached at the time when you submit these returns. And last but not least, if you have to, file in paper, you wanted to make sure that you double check the addresses every year. They could vary, and you wanted to make sure that you're sending, if it's a refund, you're expecting a refund, there's a different address for that. If you are including a payment, again, there's a different address for that. So you wanted to make sure that you double check that every year. And last but not least, make sure that if you are filing in paper, that you sign your tax return, because a lot of the times we get everything ready, we put it on the mail, and we forgot to sign. So that's one of the most important things when you file on paper. And that's kind of like some of the tips to avoid getting any, issues and filing your tax returns and getting your refund as soon as possible. But sometimes after you file, you show and you're looking at your tax return, you look at the credits and the deductions, and somehow you realize that something that you claim was not correct. You should file an amended return as soon as possible, if that's the case, if you identified a problem with your tax return. And this is true even if you received even if you receive your refund, you wanted to file an amended return, because what happened is the IRS has 3 years to audit the tax return. And if you receive an improper credit or a deduction, and later on the IRS will request you to pay that in addition to penalties and interest. And sometimes you're gonna have situations that you were not even, aware of any improper or fraudulent credit because of some fraudulent advice received by the tax return preparer. In those cases, you wanted to file a complaint, an information referral in Form 3949A. In the instances where you were unaware that fraudulent credits or deductions were claimed, because that happened as well, the preparer give you a copy of your tax return, everything looked good, but at the time they send the return to the IRS, they send something different and you're not aware. But those things, if that happen, you're going to be required to file an original tax return. And in addition to that, you wanted to file the forms 14157 return prepare complaint, or the 14157A tax return prepare fraud or misconduct affidavit, so that the IRS can help you navigate this fraudulent advice in whatever account issues that cause for you. And that's all the information that I have for you today. But I wanted to also include how to contact us. We have a lot of available websites that have information. Stay connected. And I give it back to Maddie. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. That was super helpful. Our next presentation is going to be from Brent Bowie. He is the Congressional District Liaison for the IRS Office of Legislative Affairs. I will turn it over to you, Brent.
Okay. Let's see. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm going to provide some essentials that are needed, that I feel is needed for filing your 2024 tax return. Of course, there's going to be a bit of overlap with Wendy's presentation, but they are limited. All right, so first off, tips for filing an accurate tax return. The deadline, which is very important, for submitting Form 1040, which is the U.S. individual income tax return, or the 1040 SR, which is the U.S. tax return for seniors, is April 15th, 2025. To avoid mistakes and potential processing delays, taxpayers should refrain from filing until they have received all necessary tax documents. Taxpayers should always carefully review documents for inaccuracies or missing information. They should immediately contact their employer or payer to request a correction if an issue arises. Continuing, the IRS recommends taxpayers create an IRS online account, which provides secure access to their tax information. This includes payment history, tax records, and other key information. Maintaining digitally organized tax documents can help streamline the preparation of a complete and accurate tax return and may help identify overlooked deductions or credits. Taxpayers who have an individual taxpayer identification number, or ITIN, may need to renew it if it has expired. Now, the Internal Revenue Service can't accept a tax return with an expiring or expired ITIN, but there may be processing delays. Okay. Now we're going to updates to the additional child tax credit for tax year 2024. The maximum additional child tax credit amount has increased to $1,700 for each qualifying child. The child tax credit enhancements. Taxpayers eligible for the child tax credit should not wait to file their 2024 tax return. If Congress changes the CTC guidelines in the future, the IRS will automatically adjust for those who have already filed. No additional action will be needed by those eligible taxpayers. Under current law for tax year 2024, the following currently apply. The initial amount of the CTC is $2,000 for each qualifying child. The credit amount begins to phase out where adjusted gross income exceeds $200,000 for individuals and $400,000 in the case of a joint return. A child must be under the age of 17 at the end of 2024 to be a qualifying child. All right, changes to the earned income tax credit. To claim the EITC without a qualifying child in 2024, taxpayers must be at least age 25 but under age 65 at the end of 2024. If a taxpayer is married filing a joint return, one spouse must be at least age 25 but under age 65 at the end of 2024. IRA contribution limit increased. Beginning in 2024, the IRA contribution limit increased to $7,000 and also $8,000 for individuals age 50 or older, from $6,500 and $7,500 for individuals age 50 or older over the prior year. Now, where's my refund? Taxpayers who file electronically can typically use the Where's My Refund tool to check the status of a tax return within 24 hours of filing. It takes about 4 weeks for the same information to be available for those filing paper returns. The tool is available 24/7, and it's a fast, easy way for taxpayers to get information about a refund without needing to call the Internal Revenue Service. The online tool is mobile friendly and can be accessed through the IRS 2 Go mobile app, where users also can find free tax help and make payments. The IRS updates the Where's My Refund tool once daily, usually overnight, so there's no need to check refund status multiple times a day. To check refund status, taxpayers will need a Social Security number or an individual taxpayer ID number. They'll need their filing status as well as the exact refund amount. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Brent, for that great presentation. Many of you who are listening in, you noticed when you were registering for the event, there was a portion where you could submit questions. So while we have the IRS experts on the call, we're going to go through a Q&A to answer some of those questions. Brent, the first question I have for you, it is from constituent Tyler from Newcastle County asks, how long can I expect to get my refund, and what can I do if my refund is late? Is there anything I can do while I wait for my refund?
Okay. Well, to process your return, it typically takes up to 21 days for an e-file return. It takes up to 4 weeks or more, actually, for amended returns and returns sent by mail. It can take longer than that if your return needs corrections or extra review. So if you believe it's late, it's probably due to that. While you're waiting, I refer to the Where's My Refund tool, so you can use an online tool to check your refund. And I stated that information is updated once a day overnight, so you don't have to check multiple times.
Thank you. Passing it back to you. Marie from Sussex County asks, what can I do to avoid delays in receiving my refund?
To avoid delays, the IRS encourages people to make sure that they are ready to file an accurate tax return, which I spoke about on the first slide of my presentation. An accurate tax return can avoid processing delays, extensive refund delays, and later IRS notices. Our online irs.gov provides a wealth of information and tools available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you can use that for help. Another overall suggestion is to make sure you file electronically and using direct deposit to avoid the refunds I spoke of earlier.
Thank you. Wendy, passing it to you. Larry from Newcastle County asks, if I can't make the deadline, how do I file for an extension on my taxes?
The 3 ways that you can file for an extension and get until October 15th to file. You can pay it online and check the box using the online payment options on the IRS.gov and check the box that you're paying as part of filing an extension, and you don't have to file a separate extension form, and you receive a confirmation number of your extension for your records. You can also utilize, like I mentioned on my presentation, the free file. There's no income limitations, and you can electronically request an automatic tax filing extension. And then you can also do it by mail. We still have the Form 4868, the application for automatic extension of time to file U.S. individual income tax return, and you can file that by mail. You can find that online, download the form, complete that, and then mail it. The IRS forms also have information about where to do it. And you will have to obviously estimate how much tax you owe for the year on the extension form and subtract any taxes you already paid for the filing year, because these extensions are only extensions to file, not to pay. Any amount that you're due, you will have to, pay it by April 15th if you want to avoid having any penalties.
Thank you. Brent, back to you. Gwen from Newcastle County asks, how can I talk to a live person for tax concerns?
Of course, we have the general IRS number that folks can call, but in order to actually talk to a live person and see that person in person, you can get help from an IRS Taxpayer Assistance Center. We have them all over the country in every state. You are able to locate the center closest to you by using irs.gov. And then after you locate them, you will need to call to make an appointment. And the phone number you will call is 844-545-5640. And I'll give you that number one more time, is 844-545-5640. And I also will provide that number to the senator's office as well.
Thank you. And for those of you who did not catch that phone number, this presentation is being recorded and it will be posted on our social handles. So you can always defer back if there was anything you missed from the slides or from this Q&A portion. Back to Wendy. Charles from Kent asks, what if I made a mistake while filing? Will the IRS reach out to me to correct the issue?
Well, that's going to depend. The best policy is if you identify an error on your tax return after you file, you should be filing an amended return as soon as possible. But of course, there are situations sometimes that the IRS does identify that there are errors. Sometimes with the Social Security numbers, perhaps a math verification, so those kind of things sometimes the IRS identify during the processing, and they will try to correct simple errors. And if they're not able to do that, sometimes if it's a missing schedule or something like that, the IRS will send a letter requesting that information before they complete the processing of the tax return. And in some cases, after the processing of the return, there are going to be returns that have errors. The IRS will process the returns with the errors and send notices to constituents, advising them that they have certain time to dispute that errors. That's what we call the mad error notices that go out.
Brent, last question. Thomas from Kent County asked, how can I request a copy of previous tax returns?
Okay. Well, first off, I should say that people should generally keep copies of their federal tax returns. and any related documents for at least 3 years after they file. But if you need help getting those, taxpayers can access their personal tax records in several ways. I'll just give a couple. The fastest and easiest way for a taxpayer to view their tax records is by logging on to their IRS online account. Also, individuals that use a software provider or tax preparer to file should contact them for a copy of their tax return. And also, if a taxpayer can't get a copy of their prior year federal tax return for some reason, they can order a tax transcript from the IRS. The tax transcript shows their basic filing information as well as any changes made after the taxpayer filed. These are free and available for up to 3 years after the IRS has processed the tax return.
Thank you. Well, that is all the questions I have. I want to thank both of you specifically for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join and provide those wonderful presentations. I hope everybody listening in was able to gain some valuable knowledge from those. If you did miss them, I mentioned earlier, they will be recorded. So please keep an eye out on our social channels for when those recordings are posted. Also, the senator had mentioned we will be following up with everybody who's registered. So everybody who's listening in today for a post-up survey. So if there's anything you feel you still have questions on, please feel free to reach out to our office, or you can respond once that questionnaire goes back out. And I think that is all I have. Wendy, Brent, did you have anything you wanted to say before we close out?
Wendy?
No, I don't. But if anybody needs assistance, they can contact you, Maddie, and your office, but also, they can contact us. If you go to the Taxpayer Advocate website, there should be information of contact information, email our office, and also our local phone numbers. Thank you
Well,
for this invitation.
Thank you both. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their day.
Thank you.
Thank you.